Hello there, and welcome back to City Sim Builds. We're back with a new episode today here in Banks County, and I have a few things I want to get done today. The first thing I want to do is I want to build some city services over here. Then, depending on how the industrial demand is looking, I'm probably going to expand the industrial area a little bit over here. In the long term, I do want to transfer the industrial center of this county to be kind of focused in this area. And I'm eyeing this piece of land right here for a harbor. So we'll have to see how that goes. But I think over here, this makes sense because the wind direction seems to be going like in this direction. Kind of like almost like this peninsula is like an arrow pointing in the way the wind is going. But I think this would be a great place for a harbor over here because you have a lot of space and it's pretty well protected, not only with the barrier islands, but also with this little cove over here. And then the other added benefit is that you're close to the highway, which in the future we are going to downgrade that, and it's also close to the rail line, which we'll leave in place. But for today's episode, I want to focus in on building another community right over here. And this is going to be sort of like a typical beach town. What I'm hoping to do is establish a central commercial district about in this area, and then I want to develop a few new neighborhoods over here as well. But the name of the game in this county is going to be controlling access along roads. So I don't want driveways all up along these major roads, and I don't want like a lot of different roads going off like this. I'm really trying to control the access points along these roads here. So with that, let's jump into today's episode. Alright, so the first thing I want to do is take a look at the contours and see what makes sense about how we expand this road to go further, let's say south. I'm going to say this direction is south, down the island. So it looks like we have some flat land through here, and then we're starting to get some elevation over here, and then we have like the dunes, which, you know, they're not sandy, but that's what they appear to me, at least to be. So I'm going to extend this road a little further. And before we do that, I do want to purchase a few tiles here. So let's purchase these two. And we might purchase this one, but we'll see in a minute. So with that purchased, let's extend the road. And I'm trying to be mindful here of where I think this road is going to go in the future. I think eventually it's going to have to zigzag its way through these smaller hills. So we'll set it up about like that. So we do have one development point here, and I think I'm going to go for the advanced road services right now. And this will allow us to control some of the things on the road, such as like adding traffic lights, signs, and having a maintenance facility. So I think that's a good idea. And one of the things I do want to do whenever I can unlock this is make this road here, which is called Strawberry Street, a 2-lane highway. The same thing with Robin Street. And if you have name suggestions for these, please leave them down in the comments. But I think for right now, I'm going to call this Highway 1. Because a common thing is with highway numbering is that you typically use odd numbers when you're looking at north-south directions, which I'm assuming this is north, and behind me is south. So I'm going to use that. Like a good example on the East Coast would be Interstate 95 as it goes up and down the East Coast from north to south. And then maybe we can call this one Highway 2. But if you have any other suggestions, please let me know. All right, so I want to establish a central business district. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to place this right in here. And so with this in place, I'm going to start gridding out a little bit of the town here. So I'm going to come out maybe, this looks to be about like a good location, like 81 meters or so. And then I'm going to have our first cross street here. And I want to provide some buffer distance between here, like where the downtown core is going to be for this small little town and what will eventually be the major highway through here. So let's come out 88 meters. So we'll do 80 by 88 meter blocks. Have some nice smaller block sizes. And one of the things I think I'm going to add here are some alleyways. So we have, looks like an odd number of zoning tiles. So I'm going to go right in the middle and add an alley. And this is something that is common with many US cities where you have a commercial district where you have an alley in the back for loading goods, taking care of utilities, trash collection, and parking as well. So I think that is looking pretty good, and that's about the extent of how big I want this area to be. I do want to extend this road and have it meet up over here where we're going to eventually put some city services. So let's follow the contours and let that kind of dictate where we're going to take this road. But since the contours aren't too terrible, I'm going to go straight here to about maybe here. And then we'll start to curve our road appropriately. And in paying attention to our grades here, it's like around 1%, maybe 2% max, and that is definitely reasonable. That is not a steep grade by any means when you're building a road. Typically you want to have at least a minimum, I think it's 0.3% of a grade for runoff when you're doing, the placement of the road, because you don't want a flat road. You want something that has a little bit of elevation change in it. So even like if you're out in the middle of like Kansas or something like that, the road's gonna go up and down ever so slightly. You won't really notice it as a driver, but it's definitely happening. All right, so now that we have that, I want to start placing some neighborhoods. So in looking at this, I think this is going to be our main cross street that goes across. That would be typically, I guess, a collector. So right now, these are the arterials, this road and this road, Highway 1 and Highway 2. And the main job of these roads are to get traffic in and out of the region at a higher speed with less access to the road and less development like right up on the road. Then we're going to have our collectors, which are like the roads that are kind of like the medium level roads that feed into our arterials. And sometimes collectors intersect with other collectors. That's a common thing. And then the other kind of road that we're going to have is really a street. And these are going to be our smaller roads, typically, like alleys or very low speed roads that the sole purpose there is to provide access to businesses and homes, and hopefully in the future when the game supports it, have bicycle accommodations and be friendly to pedestrians. Let's extend this out to about here. Then I want to start zoning here a little bit. And since these blocks are pretty even, I am okay with just doing wholesale zoning like this. All right, and now I want to start planning some neighborhoods. So the first thing I want to do is let's come out a little ways here. Let's say about 160 meters, and I'm just going to use this as a guideline. We're going to create a cross street here. And I'm actually going to remove this street, and then these are going to be our main points of where we get access in and out of these two neighborhoods that we're about to build. That's looking pretty good. We're going to mirror the same thing on this side as well. And I completely messed that up. So let's go back and fix this and have this extend to right here. Then I think what we're going to do is preserve some of this green space, and we're going to have this road that is one of our collectors and have it go around this way and tie back up with this collector over here. So what I'm going to do is find a spot 2 units away, and we'll have a nice gentle curve that connects from here to here. I think what we'll do is extend our neighborhood going this way, and I believe this was 104 meters. So we'll add a little spot there just to remember. All right, and so through here, I want to add some more alleyways as well. And I think we're going to have these go north-south, whereas these are going more east-west. So we'll find roughly the midpoint here. And then we have 5 units on each side, so this will allow us for some decent lot sizes. And we can change up the density in here as well. Here, I do want to temporarily add this connection. And actually, I'm okay with that being there. But from here, I do want to get rid of this. And I want to curve this road around to meet up over here. So let's build something off that comes off like that. Come out to about here, and then stub it in like that. I think one of the things we'll do is get rid of that as well. So the whole idea of this is to really only have one entrance and exit for this neighborhood right here. And the same thing, I do want to do this over here, so I actually might get rid of this curve. I'm gonna go back on that, and I'm gonna extend this down to right here. So the main thing I'm trying to achieve is not having just one entrance and exit for each neighborhood, because that's a bad idea when it comes to things like emergency services and general ingress and egress out of the neighborhood itself. You may look at this and say, how are folks going to get from here to here? Well, in the future, when I can build a pedestrian path, I'm going to allow some connections over here, and we might even add some custom parks and things like that to help facilitate people wanting to come to a destination over here to combine different trips, such as like a recreational trip to a park, as well as like something to like a shop. And we have a lot of demand right now for residential, especially the medium density variety. So I do want to add in some row homes. I think these would be a great fit through here. Then maybe as we get out a little further from the main core of the city over here, we'll taper our density down to be a little less dense. So for this, I'm going to go with the European style, and I'm going to do this a little bit manually. And I'm going to speed things up because I want to see how these appear. It looks like they're 1x5s, and hopefully they load onto this street, which I guess is called Empire Street. And while that's taking place, I want to come over here and add some of our city services that we do need. So one of the things that we definitely need is a landfill. So looking at our wind patterns here, I think the best spot for a landfill temporarily is going to be over here. So I'm going to purchase this tile. Now with the goal of this, I do not want it to end up being the final location for where we do our garbage processing. And hopefully we can reclaim this land back with some redevelopment. But I do think it would be good to have some smaller landfill over here, purely based on how the wind is blowing. And I don't like what I did there, so I'm going to back this up a little bit. I do want to be mindful of the terrain, so let's take a look at the contours. And then I'll send this road over here like that. And so our landfill, I think I'm going to place this about here. And the good thing about this is that when you place it, you can adjust the area of where the trash is going to be. And we do have a hill right here, even though you can't see it. Let me turn the contours back on so you can see the hill here. And you can place trash up a hill. That's not a problem. In fact, I think a lot of landfills are kind of shaped like almost like a dome to help maximize surface area. So for right now, we're just going to have a small landfill. I don't want this to be too far from the coast, because to me that kind of presents an issue when it comes to contaminants and things like that. All right, another thing that we definitely need is healthcare. So I do want to place a healthcare clinic. I'm trying to think here, where might be the best spot for this? I want this to be able to be walkable to these communities over here, because this currently is where we have the majority of our population density, or will have our population density. So I'll place this here at the end of this alley. That way it's not loading on this collector and it's loading on this local street. Next, the other thing that we need is a cemetery. And with a cemetery, I do want to put this in a location that would be central to the community. That's often what you see in smaller communities. So it's a very big area, but I'm okay with that. Let's place this here, and that's going to make everybody happy. We do have a bit more residential demand, so I'm going to try and place a few lots here that are larger. So we need to take a look at some of our utilities here. We are in need for additional electrical power. So I think what I might do is place another windmill, and we'll place it over here by the landfill. So right now it's saying the wind speed is too low. So perhaps the better option then is to place a small coal power plant, and I was hoping I could avoid this. Actually, I think I am going to avoid this and just kind of roll with it and place a few windmills, even though it's not ideal. We'll build a gravel road that comes off this way. And maybe it's me being new to City Skylines, but I was I was having a time trying to connect this up here. Oh cool, we just hit small village. So with that we get $700,000, 2 progression points, and we can unlock 4 tiles. So let's look at the progression panel. We can take out loans, adjust taxes, we get a few different density options here, North American and European. Then we unlock education with elementary schools and high schools. Excellent. And looking back at our electrical availability, we are doing pretty well now. One of the things I might add in the future with this is a solar assist. Actually, I think I'm going to go ahead and do this now. And we'll do this for both of them. Since the wind speed is pretty low, this will give us a bit more space with our electrical availability. So we got some issues over here. There's a lack of labor, and that's, I think, tied to lack of housing that we currently have and educational demand. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and go through here and place a bit more residential. And I think I'm going to place a few little spots here for commercial as well. That'll spread out some of our commercial uses within the residential area, so you can have some shops and things that you want to walk to. Alright, so let's take a look at our education. So we definitely need an elementary school and we need a high school. I think this would be a good spot over here for the elementary school. And then for the high school, I think we may have that be located over here at the terminus of Maple Street. That way it's like a nice end to the street. And same thing over here with the elementary school along Holly Street. Boy, that bridge is obnoxious. We don't need something that big right now. We'll try to fix that in the future. So we do have a bit more industrial demand, so I want to take a look at this area over here. I think what we'll do actually is upgrade this road through here, and that's going to get rid of a few of the industrial sites, but I think that's okay in the long term. We'll use a little bit of eminent domain here, and then I'm going to carry this trend on with using eminent domain and bring a road back this way. And this is a little bit too close to the water for my liking, but I think for the time being it'll be fine. So let's take a look at our budget. So right now, I think we could raise our taxes on residential a little bit. We'll bring things up to 15%. Same thing with commercial and industrial. And that'll hopefully get us a little bit closer to our equilibrium here with our revenues and expenses. And because I'm eager to get on this side and start developing our industrial area, I'm going to go ahead and purchase these tiles for right now. That way, in the future, I'm not tempted to keep expanding down the island and can bring this back over to the mainland. And so now I want to build a few more residential areas over here. I think the grades through here are not too terrible. Let's take a look and see. That's like a 3.3% grade. That's not bad. I'm going to try and just keep this still like a grid through here. So I'm going to extend this street so we'll have one more connection here to our collector. And then same thing on this side. And so for this, we came down 140 meters. And I kind of want to do the same thing, but bring it a little bit closer to the collector here. So that's 144. We'll leave a 2-unit space between the road here and the neighborhood. And same thing with the commercial district. And I need to remind myself what the block sizes were here. This was 120 by 104. And then for this neighborhood, we'll tie this down here. And hopefully what this will do, whether we decide to put parks here or not, it will allow us to place some larger assets like schools or a fire station, things like that. And the zoning through here is just so weird because of I guess it's the terrain, but we're going to just roll with it. And I want to make sure we have our alleyways in here, and maybe that will help us with our grid situation. So we'll find that guideline and carry this through all the way. And it did not. That's okay though. All right, I'm gonna zone through here. And again, we're gonna try to target some denser uses through here as we get closer to the downtown core of this little city here. And then we'll have some larger single family lots over here on the periphery. All right, I think that's looking pretty good, and I might actually, before this fills in, add a little bit of commercial right here and right here. And with that, we hit milestone 3, large village. We get an extra $800,000. Additionally, we get 3 more development points and 5 more tiles that we could purchase. So taking a look at this, our loan limit increases, we get service budgets, we can get into some of the different industry types like livestock farming and stone mining. We also get firehouses and police stations as well. But before we place those, I think that's going to do it for today's episode. We have increased our population to just over 500. Our budget is not too bad. We are a little bit under, but it's getting closer to an equilibrium than it was. So I'm pretty pleased with that. I'm really happy with the way this community is shaping up. Even though it's small right now, traffic does not seem like it's too terrible, and the on-street parking is occurring in places where I would expect it to occur on these streets that are local roads, essentially. We do have some high rent issues, but I think everything else is looking pretty good right now. Well, thanks for joining me in today's episode. What I'm hoping to do in the next episode is kind of start migrating some of these industrial uses to over here, especially now that we have those additional tiles that we can purchase. I want to start purchasing tiles this way. In the next episode, I want to expand the town over here. And if you have any names for the town, please let me know in the comments. I'm open to any suggestions as long as they are appropriate. Then in the next episode, we're also going to add some of the city services that we got, such as like fire stations and police stations and things like that. But yeah, I think Banks County is looking pretty good right now. So if you're enjoying the series so far, please hit the subscribe button and like the video. That helps me out a lot, but no pressure if you don't want to. You definitely don't have to. I'm just thankful that you're here, especially if you made it to this point in the video, listening to me ramble about things I want to do with how I develop towns and communities like that. I'm trying to use some of the knowledge that I've developed in my professional career to hopefully plan some better communities than ways we tend to do things here in the US. But anyway, I'll get off my soapbox. Thanks for being here, and hope everybody's doing well, and we'll see you in the next episode. All right, bye.